Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 25th, 2017 meeting of the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board. Laura, welcome. We're glad that you're with us today. I usually ask our legal counsel if she agrees that we have a quorum. Do you agree that we have a quorum?
I believe so.
Thank you. Wanted to start off with an easy question first because we've got a lot of very hard ones later. No, I'm kidding.
Of choice.
Thank you for being here today. We also want to welcome a new member of the Citizens Advisory Board this year, and I want to call on Susan Hooper to introduce our newest member. Susan?
It's my pleasure to welcome James Greiner, Ward 1, Councilman, to the Horseshoe. And you're going to enjoy this group.
Yeah,
and
good to be here.
You're coming on at the perfect time because everything is just blooming.
Well, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, Councilman Greiner, I'll just say that this has been an important part of the communication between the Citizens Advisory Board and the Council, and is, I think, a really important part of the process that the Council designed. So we're welcoming you and glad to have you with us today. Well, then, the meeting has been called to order. Let's move to the second item. We have two sets of minutes to be approved. The first one are from April the 27th, 2017. You've been furnished with a copy. Are there additions or corrections to the minutes? Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Item 3 would be the minutes of the May 12th, the special meeting of the May 12th meeting, where we considered items regarding the park. You've been furnished with copies. Are there additions or corrections? Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. That brings us to item 4, our revenue and expenditure report. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pardon me, you have in your packet the MAPS 3 revenue and expenditure report for the period ending April 30th, 2017. On the revenue side for the month, there's $8,695,528 for fiscal year of $89,865,331, and total program revenue of $728,657,294. I'd like to point out that we're still 3.9% over target from the original estimates. And then on the expenditure side for the month, $6,828,892. Fiscal year, $67,204,325, and total program expenditures as of April 30th of $273,401,625. You also have the budget and obligations report for the period till May 8th, 2017, and I can answer any questions you might have on any of this.
Any questions for David regarding either of these reports? It's been moved that we approve and receive them. Is there a second? It's been seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The report is received and approved. That brings us to item 5. David?
Thank you. In our effort to keep you updated on what's going on within various subcommittees, we have a presentation today by the Populous team on the Convention Center. Adam Polish is here to do that presentation, so I'd like to invite him up.
Welcome, Adam.
It's good to see everybody. Been a few months, I guess, maybe since February. The presentations printed are on their way. We had a mishap with our printer. He's probably frantically driving here right now, so you'll have him by the end of this meeting. So since we last saw you for our preliminary report presentation, we've done a lot of work, and we're actually submitting our 60% final plans this week, tomorrow actually. So we have about maybe 4 months left of drawing before 100% final plans go in, but we're well along the process for our final process. So what we used the subcommittee meeting for this past go-round was to just follow up on some of the open items that we had from our preliminary report presentation. One of those was traffic circulation around the site. We have our traffic engineer, Luke from Kimley Horn. So he'll be here to answer any questions that we have about the findings of our traffic study that we have, that we presented this past week. And also, we were tasked with exploring the potential for a pedestrian connector bridge to go to the future hotel. And so we have some options designed with some prices to that. So again, just to give our subcommittee an opportunity to see what actually is going to go into that bridge and how much it would end up costing. So, the design principles are the same as they've always been. We'll probably look at this slide at groundbreaking as well and when the building's done, just to make sure we're still doing everything that we said we were going to do. Since preliminary report, we're still coordinating with all of the appropriate parties within the city, fire, police, traffic, public works, and again, detailed coordination with our MAPS team to make sure that we're on track as far as we move along. 60%, we're still maintaining the full building program, the 200,000 square feet exhibit hall, 45,000 square feet of meeting room, and the 30,000 square foot ballroom. The building is still broken up on those 3 levels. And I have these plans here just to answer any questions that you guys may have, but they're pretty self-explanatory at this point in time. So one thing that we did is over the course of this 60% deliverable is we took all of our renderings and we updated them to reflect our current architectural model. It's important for a few reasons. It helps us get a clear view on what we're actually drawing as far as materials, layouts, colors, coursing, all of that stuff. So what you see here is an updated rendering, and it looks probably quite similar to what you're used to seeing, which in our eyes is extreme positive. That means that what we're drawing and what we're documenting is in line with the actual design of the building. So again, the views from the park, the view looking south on Robinson. I want to point out one thing in this view. We previously had that OKC monument sign in the ground right in front of the building there. And over the past 2 or 3 months, we've been in heavy coordination with Robbie from the Arts Commission on identifying locations on the exterior of the building for a large public art piece. And through that coordination with her, we've established that this corner on 4th Street in Robinson, adjacent to the park, is a prime location for a large piece of public art. So we're working with her on how we can design the site and allow the appropriate infrastructure in there to accept a large piece of art that will integrate with the landscape and be adjacent to our building. So we're on the same page with her as how we're going to move forward with the process, and I think we're really happy with what her initial thoughts are. Looking north along Robinson. And so this is that new view that I don't think many people have seen before, and this is just an aerial view just showing the relationship of Robinson from the park to our convention center site, and you can see a better view of the street section of Robinson with the Project 180 trees and plantings that line each side, so truly creating that parkway north and south along Robinson. And again, if that area on the corner on the 4th of Robinson, that's what we've cleared to allow for that large piece of public art. And again, the overall aerial. And so vehicular circulation and traffic. So since our preliminary report, Kimley Horn was tasked with doing a district-wide traffic study, not only just for our site, but for all of the adjacent developments of the park, large events at the arena, future development. And I'll let Luke talk about some more of the details, but they basically did a study projecting all the way out till 2030. So plenty in the future for all the developments to have been constructed. And so we've been working with our subcommittee for months on this solution, and at the end of preliminary report, we presented a solution, and we all agreed that it might not have been the best solution, so that's why we engaged Kimley Horn even further. And some of the conclusions of the traffic report, we presented these 3 options, and this is all going north and south along Robinson. Basically, how will a car come south on Robinson and turn around to go back north to drop somebody off at the convention center? So we presented these 3 options at preliminary report, and our preferred option was option 3 in this diagram, to have a car make a left on 7th Street and loop back around the surface parking lot and head north. And it was determined that that would lead to a bit too much congestion along Robinson to make that happen. And so through the traffic study and through coordination with traffic and public works within the city, we all came to the conclusion that the preferred option would be to put a roundabout at the intersection of 7th and Robinson. And so this is an extremely conceptual design. This is what we were just tasked to do. We haven't actually designed it, but this is us putting our best foot forward as far as how we think traffic would potentially work along Robinson and 6th and 7th Street. So I'm going to bring Luke up here because he is a wizard when it comes to this stuff. And he can answer any questions that you may have on how the roundabout works and how traffic will flow around the site. So,
thank you, Adam. I just want to talk real quick, briefly, about a couple different things that we looked at from a roundabout perspective. We were tasked with looking at both where it would go and then what a roundabout would look like from a concept standpoint. The roundabouts you see on the screen, we looked at either putting a roundabout at either 6th Street or 7th Street. As you know, with the future expansion of the convention center, 6th Street wasn't a very good option for putting the roundabout looking long-term. Similarly, the park to the west, the fountain was located at 6th Street as well, so we didn't want to conflict with that with our roundabout. At 7th Street, there's a future fire lane going through the park, so the roundabout would connect to that as well. So that would be a good opportunity. So we landed on 7th Street as a good place to put the single-lane roundabout. From a design standpoint, we looked at a couple different options, but from a forecasted traffic volume perspective, a single-lane roundabout was appropriate for this area for a lot of different reasons, from a traffic and from a safety standpoint. The volumes that we're forecasting for the area show the single-lane roundabout is appropriate. From a design standpoint, we wanted to keep the design speeds low because of all the pedestrian traffic and safety. So you can kind of see in the concept that there's deflection coming from 7th Street as well as from the north and the south on Robinson. That deflection decreases the design speed for the roundabout, which makes it more safe for pedestrians and vehicles. It also serves as the traffic calming measure as well for the area. So we're excited about this concept, and this provides a great south staple to the corridor as you enter from the south or making that U-turn. Those are all the pieces that I kind of want to talk about. So you have any questions in regards to the roundabout concept?
Luke, will you speak to the questions that we had in the committee meeting, like big semis?
Yeah,
Would they be able
absolutely.
to-
Great. Great question. So the concept that we're showing here is designed for a WB50, which is a large tractor trailer. So this roundabout could be utilized for delivery traffic. It could be utilized for larger vehicles to go through the corridor. So it's designed for WB50. That's one of the larger vehicles that we'd see for deliveries for use like the convention center.
Luke, and also like Greyhounds,
Correct. Yes.
things like that.
So that would also accommodate tour buses, school buses, fire trucks. But a W50 is the largest vehicle that it would likely take at this point. But school buses and tour buses would be smaller than that, would fit into that criteria. Yes.
What if in the future they decide to run the tram down that way? I mean, distant future. Would it be easy to remove the roundabout and relocate it, or how would that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. That was actually posed on Tuesday as well. The roundabout at 10th and Walker currently is planned to have the streetcar going through it as well. So we would see that the streetcar could go through this as well. It would take some design considerations, but it would be something that we could accommodate with the roundabout.
I'm just curious about the consideration for a single-lane roundabout as opposed to a double-lane, for example, where traffic southbound on Robinson that's going straight through and not doing a U-turn or turning left on 7th could flow through and not be impeded by traffic that is making a turn of some kind. Likewise, going north on Robinson, somebody wanted to turn right on 7th and wouldn't have to wait for people entering the roundabout and going back north on the street.
That's a great question. So that was something we looked into. Robinson is one of the routes that serves the convention center, but Shields and the new Boulevard will be another route that will serve the convention center as well. So we didn't see from a volume standpoint that it was warranted. One of the things that you mentioned is that U-turn movement having its own dedicated lane. So one of the challenges that creates is when they make the U-turn movement, They'll then be located on the center lane, and then they'll have to merge to the outside to be able to use the convention center for the drop-off pickup. So we saw it as a benefit to be a single lane, just so you decrease that merging condition that happens after the roundabout as you're traveling north, for people wanting to use the convention center for drop-off, pickup, access the parking facility. So we absolutely looked into that. It was just something that we saw that there was more benefits to be a single lane than a multi-lane, and from a capacity standpoint, we felt that it was appropriate.
Do you see it as a benefit for traffic flow or a benefit just for the convention center?
So your question is that U-turn movement to be a single lane, is that a...
Yeah, because I kind of liked his idea.
Sure. From a traffic perspective, there's a lot of different uses that are using this area. The single lane will decrease the speeds, which will help from a pedestrian safety standpoint. So that was one of the key things that we wanted to make sure was safe for all modes of travel. This roundabout will function a lot more simply than like the roundabout at 10th and Walker would, since there's only 3 legs of the approach, where Walker has 5 legs. So we'll have a little bit of extra wiggle room from a capacity standpoint because we won't have as many approaches entering it as well. So it'll operate more efficiently because it won't have as many conflicting movements as, like, for example, the 10th at Walker roundabout would have.
And you're not concerned about it becoming a bottleneck whenever there is a high traffic volume going through there?
No, we're not. For looking at the projections that we saw for 2030, so going back to the traffic study, so we evaluated the whole area to be built out by 2030 with the core to shore plan as far as land use, and from there, that's how we projected traffic volumes going through the area. But no, we don't see that this to be a high congestion area because of the roundabout.
Okay.
Well, I guess some of us would have looked at it as no matter what the traffic projection flow is, there will be some really busy times. To the councilman's point, the traffic flow will probably be uneven there, what it is during the daytime hours, but when there's a big event there, and of course we're building this to have big events there. And so if you have 4 tour buses moving around here and 1 lane stopping a short ways from there to let 50 passengers off, it's a little bit of a concern that with the other cars, with me coming in there, just letting my wife off, it would be, there'd be somewhat of a bottleneck. Have you guys, what do you think about that?
Well, there's a couple different things. So obviously, as you mentioned, during your day-to-day operations, it's going to operate very well. During a peak event, similar to like Chesapeake Energy Arena when there's a Thunder game, the police control will start taking over a couple of the different intersection operations that'll happen. So we've talked to the police department and looking at management techniques as well. So that'll be something for a very large event will be managed more on that side of the equation. But we've seen these type of roundabouts operate pretty well in a congested situation. So.
Anyone else? Question?
Is there any plan on trying to on letting people know that that's where they're supposed to do a U-turn, essentially? Because, I mean, I could see most people coming south on Robinson, I mean, because a lot of people that are coming to the convention center are not going to be used to the area. They're just going to come down and like, okay, I'm just going to make a U-turn there at 7th.
Sure.
Are we going to have any signage or anything like that?
That could be an option to look into from a signage standpoint. One of the concerns is that on 6th Street, that people may try to make a U-turn at 6th Street as opposed to going through the roundabout at 7th. Mm-hmm. So during your heavy events, that might be something from a management standpoint that we can cone off so the left isn't allowed at 6th Street as well to more direct people to go through the roundabout at 7th. But signage is something that can be looked into, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. To add to Luke's point, we've had quite extensive coordination meetings with Oklahoma City Police and Fire and the current operator of SMG for Cox Center and the arena to talk about these Super Bowl Sunday situations where every development is in use in the park. And to be honest, the OKC Police, they almost said that you can design whatever you want and we are going to take control over it to essentially do what we want. And so take that for what it is, but I'm sure that they'll find a way to manage the situation. So
well, he means that in response to the needs of the venue, because if there's a something going on at the park, at the same time there's something in the convention center, that would be different than if it's just a big convention center event, something like that.
Yeah, so, and SMG is the current building, the future building operator. We've been also coordinating with them as well, and, they will have a plan in place for these large events that start to happen as well. So a lot of it will happen from an operational standpoint. And so some of the other findings from the traffic analysis were just the directionality of the roads. There was talk amongst the study of making some of the roads one-way as opposed to two-way conditions, but our findings decided that each road should be multi-directional, no need to go to a one-way condition. The Robinson Avenue cross-section will be the same as what's been designed today, so that's a bike lane, 2 lanes of traffic going each direction, and then a bike lane on the other side going north. Valet operations for the convention center. It'll take a little bit of coordination with the hotel, but we have an adequate amount of valet space on our site to allow for a functioning valet event to happen for any kind of black tie affair that we would happen in the ballroom. And then U-turn operations, as Luke said, it was determined that a U-turn is not ideal, even though you can't really stop somebody from doing what they want in a car, but there's ways that we can deter them from making a U-turn at places like 6th Street. As Robinson goes down the path of being designed, there might be the thought of a curb separating north-south traffic, but again, that's out of our current scope of work, so that will be for the designer of Robinson. So moving along from traffic, we were tasked with studying a pedestrian bridge that connects our convention center to the hotel. And so the big disclaimer in all this is that since there is no design for the hotel, we made a lot of assumptions to put a meaningful cost to what a pedestrian bridge would cost the convention center at this stage in design. And so one of the assumptions that we made is that the bridge would be 85 feet long, and that'll take you from the edge of our convention center across the right-of-way of 4th Street. And so outside of that right-of-way, we really have very little idea of what's happening. So if this does move forward, we will need to have meaningful coordination with the hotel team when they get to this level of design. So 85 feet long, 20-foot clear between the street level of 4th Street and the underside of the bridge, allowing for all service, fire, and any kind of food or festival type atmosphere trucks or whatever that you would have underneath there. And we would maintain a 16-foot clear head height in the bridge, and the bridge would be completely climate controlled. So we had 3 options. The option 1 is what we're calling circulation only. And if you could imagine the pedestrian bridges that are going up around Devon Tower right this minute, connecting their new parking garage to their new tower, that would be similar design for this. It would be approximately 15 feet wide, and it would be just for circulation of back and forth pedestrians. The approximate cost for this is $1.5 million. And so it's important to note that we're designing this bridge as a standalone entity because we don't exactly know what it's connecting to now. So we're assuming that this bridge will have its own structure, its own HVAC, all of this stuff. So that is why you see this cost. It might seem a little bit high, but it's because there's so many unknowns. We just have to make sure that the bridge as a standalone thing can stand essentially on its own. The second option that we have, we call it gathering. So a few members of our subcommittee have expressed interest in being able to host light receptions out there. And so expand the width of the bridge to 30 feet, which allows for a significant amount of the square footage to host light receptions with coffee, light food service, just providing a bit of activity and program on that bridge so it's not a strictly a pedestrian connection. To expand this bridge, it would be approximately $2 million. And our final option we call program. And so the bridge is approximately 30 feet wide, but what we've done is we've carved out a little section of the bridge with the utilities to allow for a permanent food service location there. So whether that's a coffee shop or a small cafe, it would allow for a bit more program to happen there, and then access to an exterior balcony that you could have the look across 4th Street in the park. So a bridge of this aspect would be somewhere along the lines of $3 million. And so again, these are just us making some assumptions to put a meaningful cost to these options. The hotel will obviously have a say on what happens with this bridge, what goes in the bridge, whether or not food service is even an option. I know that on our subcommittee level, just a larger bridge to them seemed desirable, not necessarily with a food service component, but again, there'll have to be a lot of coordination down the road to make this successful. But our building, I can say with confidence, is designed to accept this bridge at a meaningful location that will help pedestrians flow through the facility. And another option that was discussed that we have not put a price to, again, because of the relationship with the hotel, was an on-grade covered pedestrian walkway. A lot of this would have to do what is happening on the ground level of the hotel, whether there's meeting rooms or restaurants or any kind of program down there. But there's talk that in lieu of a pedestrian bridge, you would do something on the ground that would just allow patrons to walk back and forth under a covered shelter. Again, it's still conceptual at this point, so there's no numbers assigned to this.
Adam, is that the way that would be an entry or an exit way to the proposed garage that would be east of there? I mean, is this a way to get to the garage?
So the size of something along this, we've talked, it could be as small as just connecting the hotel, or maybe there's a broader idea where it does connect a larger portion of 4th Street that could provide that sheltered connection from the convention center to the bridge, to the hotel, to the...
I guess what I was wondering is, would this walkway, if it's on grade, would it have automobile traffic going the opposite, across it?
Yes, absolutely. This would we have to allow for vehicles to pass under it. Yes. Yes. It's a great question, and
that's all
not
being worked through right now.
Do you have a view of what, if it is program space, do you have a view of what they would be looking out on? Would that be an attractive program space in that scenario?
If you can look at the third image up there, we've programmed a little outdoor terrace there that's adjacent to the hotel looking west. So essentially you have your view framed in between the convention center and the hotel across the park. So that's where that grand plaza is.
But is it kind of a tunnel vision?
It would be a bit more of a tunnel vision as opposed to what we have on our balcony, where it's more of a panoramic view. But, the idea in this design, and it's what we've, kind of implanted into the hotel team's mind as well, is that 4th Street needs to be shared between the convention center and the hotel, and ideally becomes this active space with people back and forth and food trucks and all of that. So the idea for a bridge like that would be able to maybe project some views onto 4th Street so you can see that kind of activity. So, again, I mean, it's a huge disclaimer, but we needed to draw something so that we could get some reactions from our subcommittee and put a meaningful cost to what it would take to do something like this. So there'll be a lot of further coordination that happens with this, and a lot of it does fall in the lap of the hotel. And so next steps, we're submitting our 60% drawings, as I said, tomorrow. We'll be doing an independent cost estimate. Again, as we do at every stage, our MAPS team will be reviewing the drawings as well, and we'll also be, ADG will also be referencing our independent cost estimate as well. So besides that, we will just be doing continued coordination for final plans here in September. So it's basically a pretty thorough update. If we have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Adam, while you're there, I want to ask David a question too, and he may want you to help him with this.
Yeah.
But outline for us, David, this pedestrian bridge, for example, is not necessarily a part of what we'd asked them to do originally, so we've now asked them to give us some cost estimates. So it could be that it's included with the negotiations that Kathy O'Connor has about the hotel. It could be that we would be asked to spend some MAPS money on it, perhaps as an alternate to the design or not. So all of those things are still out there to be determined.
That's right, yeah. This isn't in our budget right now, and we're still working through those issues.
Yeah. Anybody? Sue?
I might just add from the committee meeting that one thing, Mike Carrier with the Convention and Visitor Bureau, he had some planners, convention planners, and to really kind of give Oklahoma City some thoughts on, these are must-haves. These are things that they look for when they sign contracts for their clients for conventions. And pretty far up there, number one, maybe number two, is connectivity, walkability with the headquarters hotel. And we know that when we get conventions that are going to need more than X amount of rooms, we're going to be using the hotel. And then you get your leadership or your key people that are part of the entity that's coming. They're going to do several times a day back and forth between meetings, between the hotel and the convention center. So this sky bridge or this bridge, this pedestrian bridge, becomes really important and valuable. And it's something that they all said, it's a deal breaker. You've got to have it. So I know that the committee is really intent on making sure that we have what we need for our next challenge on planning those conventions.
So the hotel being right next to the convention center is not connected enough?
That's correct.
What they said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for Adam?
No, it's fine.
Would all the bridges have good access for handicapped people as far as getting ramps and chairs and that kind of thing? Would that allow for that?
Yeah, so on our side of the bridge, it's a level entry on grade with the appropriate floor level, and right when you get into our building, it's directly adjacent to an elevator that can take you across each level. So for us, ADA would not be an issue on our building. That being said, we've since we were here first, essentially we've kind of set the standard for the floor-to-floor height of our building versus what's happening to the hotel. And in the hotel, there's talented architects as well, and I'm sure they will take all of those ADA things into consideration. But we certainly wouldn't design something that wouldn't be accessible. Yeah.
Adam, really appreciate you following the request of the subcommittee to look into the traffic pattern control and the pedestrian bridge. We thank you for doing that and making this information available, and noting that you met with all of these entities that you're trying to coordinate with. Has anything surfaced in any of those meetings that would be different than we've been thinking about, or should we expect any other changes? As I look at that long list of people you're coordinating with, I'm assuming they all have ideas.
Well, yeah, I will say that there were a lot of ideas at the table, and to come to a consensus was I don't want to say a challenge, it was just a lot of coordination and a lot of explanation. And I don't know if Luke can hold up the traffic report, but it's a binder this thick of data. There was a lot of hesitation because we all drive and we all think that we're experts, right? And so getting a consensus was challenging, but I would say that everybody that we have spoken to and have put the solution towards, they support the solution.
But I was talking about other things other than just those two. As you've gone through the whole long list of people you're coordinating with,
yeah,
including the park and others, anything else that we should be anticipating, any other changes in what we've seen before as a result of all those meetings?
No, I can't say there is anything meaningful that would need to change at this point.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did have one more question, if that's okay.
Sure.
I know we're trying to move on with the agenda. I'm not necessarily saying that this is my opinion, but just want to bring up a contrarian view. with pedestrian interaction, it's always good to have people on the sidewalks. So I'm thinking like the tunnels in downtown. Some people might say those are bad because it takes people off of sidewalks and you don't see people out and about. Is that a viewpoint that's been expressed or a concern that's been expressed by committee members with this bridge?
I'll say my opinion for what it's worth as well is generally, as an urban planner, architect, you want to keep people on the street. And I know that Mary Margaret from the park design team has said the same thing. However, I would say convention center connection, as Susan said, is extremely important for a convention center guest, considering the fact that there might be times when you have the hotel and the convention center rented out as one whole unit for a large convention. And so you could have a meeting in the convention center, and then your next meeting could be directly across in the hotel. And so that meaningful connection happening back and forth multiple times a day, I do see a need for that from a convention standpoint. Typically, I don't think we would normally recommend that, but because of this unique condition, I do think it's a positive for the facility. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Item 6 on the agenda, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 6 is recommend resolution approving change order number 5, MAPS 3, Senior Health and Wellness Center number 2, increase of $1,172, project M3-H003. As I said, this is change order number 5 for Wellness Center number 2. There are 3 items in here. One is for lighting revisions. Pardon me, the light fixture itself needed to be modified because of a fire rating, and then there's what we call a fur out for a hydrant. A fur out is where you build the wall around an object. That was for $409. And then the weather delay of 6 additional days at no cost. So this comes with the approval of the subcommittee.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution that comes with the recommendation of the Senior Health and Wellness Subcommittee. Are there questions? Michael, any other comments? Cecilia, any comment from you? All right. Further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion and the resolution are approved. Item 7, David.
Item 7 is recommend resolution approving change order number 4 and amendment number 5, MAPS 3 Trail Improvements, Phase 2, Project 1, I-44 West, Will Rogers Trail, increase of $23,931.25, project M3-T002A. In the change order part of the item, there was an air relief valve, which is a water line appurtenance that needed to be adjusted in elevation, and then there were some traffic loop detectors that needed to be replaced. Then on the amendment side, there were some quantity adjustments, irrigation system, and then a small retaining wall. And the reason why we do these adjustments is I like to keep our bookkeeping up monthly on these projects so we know where we are. So this comes with the approval of those present at the Trails and Sidewalks Committee. They did not have a quorum.
For my benefit and for the councilman's benefit, these change orders do not require any addition to the approved budget, right?
That's right.
These are within the budget that's been approved. We're just doing it differently, but no more money required.
Right, it comes out of the project contingency.
Okay. Sue? It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Is this item 8 then, David?
Yes, sir. Item 8 is recommend a resolution approving change order number 4 and amendment number 5, MAPS 3 Trail Improvements, Phase 2, Project 2, I-44 West, Will Rogers Trail, decrease of $54,331, project M3-T002. So this is the second part of the three-part I-44 trail project. There are two items on the change order side of this. It's a privacy fence that one of the residents requested, 35 feet of that. And then there's a table revision. There is an increase of $15,000 in the change order side, but if you'll note in the amendment side, it is decreased. So we have a $70,000 credit on the quantity revisions for the table, so that gives us the net decrease of $54,331. Again, this comes with the approval from those that were present at the subcommittee meeting.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this. We've got to think through this carefully, approving a decrease in spending. Don't worry. I take comfort. I take comfort, Sue, in the fact that we'll see that through. All right. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 9, David.
Item 9 is a recommend resolution approving change order number 6 and amendment number 5, MAPS 3 sidewalks Phase 3 Project 2 improvements, increase of $51,811.50. Project M3-W003A. On the change order part of this, there is a time extension of 30 days due to some delays that the contractor had, but this, again, is at no cost to us. It is just an extension of time. And then the quantity amendment of $51,811, the bulk of that was some driveways that needed to be removed and replaced that we hadn't originally planned, but once we get out in the field and see either condition or the ADA requirements at the time, we replace those so that as we finish the sidewalk, the entire route is ADA compliant. And again, this comes with the approval from those present at the subcommittee meeting.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution and item 9 on our agenda. Is there further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 10, David.
Item 10 is recommend resolution approving change order number 4, MAPS 3 streetcar storage and maintenance facility, increase of $11,576, project M3-S006. This change order is for the removal of the house that is right there on the lot. That was the only piece of property that we didn't have when we started the project. We didn't necessarily need it. It was outside of the boundaries, but it is advantageous that we remove that and gain that for use for the streetcar maintenance facility. It took a long time because the woman that owned it passed away in the process, and we had to go through probate and a lot of legal issues. But we finally own the property, and now we want to do demolition on that building. So this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
All right. Been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Any other comments from the subcommittee, Nathaniel? All right. Further questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 11, David.
Item 11 is recommend resolution approving change order number 1, MAPS 3 modern streetcar mainline, increase of $22,319.54, project M3-S007. If you've been in Bricktown or if you've been down around 3rd and Hudson, you see that the streetcar construction is well underway. This is our first change order for that project. There was a water line that we discovered between the railroad on Sheridan, between the railroad and Oklahoma Avenue. It was much more shallow in depth than what we'd anticipated, so we had to relocate that water line. Then there was an ADA ramp on the opposite side of one of the intersections that we could not get land and right-of-way to make that work, so we have removed that. It does not affect the area within the streetcar itself. And then there were some additional crosswalks that were requested at 7th and 8th Streets on Robinson to help with the OCU Law School crossings there. And then there was a water line that we thought we were going to have to replace that was on Reno between the railroad and Oklahoma, and we do not have to replace that, so we get a credit of $137,000. So it kind of offsets the water line that we did have to do. So that gives us the net change order of $22,319.54. This comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Any further comments from the subcommittee, Nathaniel? Okay. Questions? Comments? All right. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. That brings us to item number 12, new business. Any member of the subcommittee or of the Citizens Advisory Board have any new business to bring forward today? David, how about you?
No, sir.
All right. Item 13 then is the subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee that we haven't already talked about have a report they want to make? Dee, I wanted to ask you, I'm thinking that tomorrow there is an event. Do you want to tell us about that on the river?
We have another river cutting for river sport, and it is 1 o'clock tomorrow at the East Bridge at River Sport Adventures. So we hope you'll all come. Tom will be there, and Mike Knopp, and we'll be able to celebrate another step in making the river even better.
Thank you, Dee.
I just wanted to say that our streetcar subcommittee has been very pleased with the operations of the company that's installing the track itself. We've had a lot of positive comments from people, both within the committee, but also just people that we've encountered. They've been doing exactly what they said they would do, and they've been very professional and responsive, and moved cones and gotten things done when they said they would. That way, things like the marathon could happen on time without encumbrance, and just been very happy with their performance. So that's Herzog, and what's the other name?
Stacy Whitbeck.
Stacy Whitbeck. So I just wanted to really give them the well-deserved kudos. So knock on wood, I mean, it's still early on, but I've been very happy with what they've been doing so far.
I would just add to that, don't forget ADG, because Kristen has been going around making notifications to all those people and telling them what's going on in time. They're doing an outstanding job, and ADG has just done a tremendous job keeping people apprised of what's going on.
That's true. It has been a great joint effort between Kristen and the MAP staff and the Jacobs team and the contractor. It's going really well.
Yeah, it's been very well planned. I'm glad to know it's well received. Nathaniel, would you give us 90 seconds of how they're doing on the cars that we heard yesterday at the subcommittee?
Yeah, and David may correct me, but so 4 of the cars are substantially complete. So by that I mean that they have kind of a checklist of things going from left to right that have to be put together. So the bodies are assembled, the panels are on them. If you were to look at it, it would look like a streetcar. It just doesn't have paint and some other components. So I believe 4 are like that. You might call them 80% complete, and then the other 2 maybe about half complete.
Right, because they're being built sequentially. They're just all in a line, and one of them is further along, and each one in succession is a little less complete.
Kind of cascades, like an assembly line. We did get to see that panels that have the panels that you'll see on the streetcar itself with the actual official paint. So they brought in these giant, 3x5 panels with all the colors to our meeting yesterday, and it was really neat to see that and touch it. And I took pictures, and so it's really attractive, and it's coming together.
Great. All right, then let's move to item 14. We have 9 informational items. I know you've been furnished with copies of them in advance, and obviously we can discuss any of them you want to. I'm going to ask David if he would just summarize those for us, but if there are specific ones that you want to call out for discussion, we can discuss any of them.
Yes, sir. All of them but 2 are land-type issues. They're easements or property purchases for the park, streetcar, sidewalks, those things. B and C are demo contracts for the area for the convention center.
All right. Any of them provoke a question in anybody's mind that you want to ask David further about? All right, then. Let's move to item 15. David, Anything else that you need to add?
Well, real quickly, I'll just run through each of the projects.
Good.
As Dee mentioned, the bridge ribbon cutting is coming. They're still out there working on that today, but I think they'll be through with that tomorrow for the ribbon cutting, or they should be. Senior Wellness Center 1 is complete, still finishing up the punch list items, and then there are some additional work that they will finish here in the coming weeks. Wellness Center 2 is under construction and going well, and then still have in negotiations with the operator on Wellness 3. Trails and sidewalks, as you saw from the change orders, the I-44 Will Rogers Trail is under construction. All 3 phases now are under construction, and each of those are at varying levels of completion. Phase 3 trails continue in design. That's the Draper Trail. Then we have the Phase 3 sidewalks that are quickly wrapping up, and Phase 4 sidewalks, the first package is out to bid right now. And this board saw that weeks ago, and we've been holding it because we were requiring right-of-way. And we've gotten to the point where we can release that first contract on that. So as I said, that's out for bid. You saw the update on the convention center, the fairgrounds, expo building, still trying to wrap up some punch list items on that, but the most significant thing out there is the other contract that we did is for the video boards, and those are probably about 90% complete, and they look fantastic, really look great, and I hope each of you can go out there to see those at an event. Park is going to council on Tuesday for award, and hopefully we'll get that awarded and get started on construction on that. And then we talked about the streetcars. So got a lot going on.
I want to add one thing. I attended the State Fair Board meeting yesterday, and they announced, if I understood it correctly, that the bookings they had in the first quarter of 2017 exceeded any of the preceding 9 years. So if I understood that correctly, we're off to an amazing start with the use of the new facility at the fairgrounds. And they mentioned a lot of things I won't go into detail about, but one of the things that they hadn't anticipated, they've been given opportunities to hold big team volleyball tournaments for students that come in from all over the region. They now have a big space that can accommodate 6 volleyball games at the same time or something that they had wasn't in the forecast for what they thought they might be using it for, but they found a lot of unexpected new customers, and so that's something that we're all excited to hear, that it's really being used. All right, anyone else? Comment for David? Well, then let's move to item 16. Any other comments from members of the board? Staff comments? Laura, you okay? Okay. And then finally, if there are any citizens here that would like to be heard, this is your opportunity. If not, Bob has moved that we adjourn, seconded by Zane. Were there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. No. The ayes have it. We're adjourned.